Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is Explore Yourselves, Banking, and General Knowledge, etc. Today I am going to describe about 15th August 2026, India's 80th Independence Day, from freedom struggle to a new India. Introduction. 15th August 2026 will be a historic and emotionally significant day for every Indian as the country celebrates its 80th Independence Day. India became independent from British rule on 15th August 1947, and therefore 15th August 2026 marks the 80th occasion on which Independence Day is being celebrated. An important point to understand is that India will have completed 79 years of independence on this date and will be entering its 80th year of freedom. This distinction between 80th Independence Day and 79 years of independence is therefore important. The year 2026 is also a Saturday, and Independence Day remains one of India's three major national festivals. The meaning of Independence Day. Independence Day is much more than a national holiday. It is a day of remembrance, gratitude, pride, and responsibility. It reminds us that the freedom enjoyed by today's generations was not obtained easily. For decades, Indians from different regions, communities, social backgrounds, and walks of life participated in movements, protests, revolutionary activities, and various forms of resistance against colonial rule. Many freedom fighters sacrificed their lives, while countless others spent years in prison, lost their livelihoods, or suffered enormous personal hardship. The freedom struggle gradually transformed from scattered resistance into a broad national movement, eventually leading to the end of British rule in 1947. Every Independence Day therefore gives the country an opportunity to remember those sacrifices and to ask whether we are using our freedom responsibly. The long road towards freedom. India's struggle against colonial domination did not begin suddenly in 1947. Resistance occurred in different forms over a long period. The revolt of 1857 became one of the most important early nationwide challenges to British authority, although resistance against colonial expansion had already appeared in several regions. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, political awareness increased and the demand for greater Indian participation in governance gradually developed into the demand for self-rule and eventually complete independence. The national movement brought together lawyers, students, farmers, workers, writers, teachers, women, soldiers, social reformers, and ordinary citizens. The freedom struggle was therefore not the achievement of one person, one organization, or one particular movement. It was the result of contributions made by generations of Indians. The rise of mass movements. The 20th century witnessed remarkable transformations in India's freedom movement. Non-cooperation, civil disobedience, and the Quit India movement mobilized millions of ordinary people. Non-violent resistance, satyagraha, boycotts, demonstrations, and constructive programs became powerful instruments of political mobilization. At the same time, revolutionary groups and armed resistance also played their own role in keeping the demand for freedom alive. The contributions of women was particularly significant, with women participating in protests, underground activities, social mobilizations, and political campaigns. Farmers, tribal communities, workers, and students also contributed in different regions. The movement increasingly created a sense that India's freedom was not merely a political objective but a collective national aspiration. The decisive years before independence. The Second World War created enormous political and economic pressures throughout the world, including in British India. The Quit India movement of 1942 became one of the most important mass movements of that final phase of the freedom struggle. The Indian National Army and the trials of its personnel also generated considerable public sentiment. Meanwhile, political negotiations concerning the future constitutional structure of India became increasingly intense. Eventually, the British decision to transfer power resulted in independence in August 1947. However, independence came together with the painful partitions of British India. Millions of people were displaced, and the period witnessed terrible communal violence and immense human suffering. Thus, the history of 15th August 1947 contains both extraordinary joy at freedom and deep sorrow over the human tragedy surrounding partition. Historic dawn of 15th August 1947. When India became independent on 15th August 1947, the country faced enormous challenges. The new nation had to deal with partitions, refugee rehabilitations, food shortages, poverty, limited industrial capacity, low literacy, inadequate infrastructure, and the integrations of hundreds of princely states. Yet the country chose the path of democracy and constitutional government. The Constituent Assembly worked to establish the foundations of a modern republic, and the constitutions of India eventually came into full force on 26 January 1950. Independence gave India the opportunity to determine its own destiny, while the Constitution provided the institutional framework through which that freedom would be exercised. From independence to republic, there is an important difference between Independence Day and Republic Day. On 15th August 1947, India became independent and ended British colonial rule. On 26th January 1950, the constitution came fully into force and India became a republic. Independence therefore represents the achievement of political freedom, while the republic represents the establishment of a constitutional democratic system based on the sovereignty of the people. The constitution guarantees fundamental rights and establishes democratic institutions, while also placing responsibilities on citizens. India's journey since independence has consequently been a continuing effort to translate constitutional ideals into everyday reality. Tricolor and the Red Fort tradition. One of the most powerful symbols of Independence Day is the Indian national flag. The tricolor represents the nation's unity, dignity, and aspirations, while the Ashoka Chakra in the center represents the continued movement of the nations and the importance of righteous action. The raising of the national flag and the national address from the ramparts, the Red Fort, have become central traditions of Independence Day. Over the decades, the Red Fort has become a symbolic stage from which the country's leadership addresses citizens about national achievements, challenges, and future priorities. The Independence Day address evolved with the changing circumstances of India, reflecting themes ranging from poverty removal and development to technology, national security, self-reliance, innovations, and India's future as a developed nation. The journey of India's democracy. Perhaps one of India's greatest achievements since independence has been the continuation and expansion of democratic governance. India adopted universal adult franchise at the beginning of its republican journey, despite widespread poverty and illiteracy. Elections gradually became an essential part of public life, allowing citizens to choose their representatives. Governments changed, political parties rose and declined, states were reorganized, institutions developed, and public participation expanded. The Indian democratic experiences has therefore been a continuous process rather than a finished achievement. Independence Day reminds citizens that political freedom also requires respect for constitutional values, institutions, diversity, individual dignity, and the rule of law. India's transformation in agriculture, industry, and infrastructure. The India of 1947 and the India of 2026 are dramatically different in many respects. In the early years after independence, India faced serious food insecurity and depended heavily on imports. The Green Revolution transformed agricultural production and helped strengthen food security. Industrialization, expansion of public infrastructure, development of scientific institutions, growth of education, and expansion of transport and communications networks gradually changed the country's economic foundations. Roads, railways, ports, airports, electricity networks, telecommunications, and urban infrastructure have expanded enormously over the decades. Although substantial challenges remain, the scale of transformations since 1947 demonstrates the ability of successive generations to build upon the foundations laid by earlier generations. Science, technology, and space. India's scientific and technological journey is another important part of the story of independent India. From a country struggling with basic developmental requirements, India has developed significant capabilities in atomic energy, space science, information technology, pharmaceuticals, engineering, and advanced research. India's space program has become a source of national pride with missions demonstrating increasingly sophisticated capabilities. Digital technology has also transformed everyday life through mobile connectivity, digital payments, online services, and digital public infrastructure. These changes show how technological progress can influence not only large industries but also the daily lives of ordinary citizens. India's defense and national security. Independence also placed upon India the responsibility of protecting its sovereignty. Over the decades, the country's armed forces, paramilitary organizations, police, and other security institutions have played a crucial role in protecting national territory and maintaining internal security. India's defense capabilities have evolved considerably with increasing emphasis on modern technology, indigenous productions, and strategic self-reliance. Independence Day provides an appropriate occasion to remember soldiers and security personnel who serve under difficult conditions and in many cases make the ultimate sacrifice. The freedom established, the freedom celebrated on 15th August is inseparable from the responsibility of protecting the nations and preserving peace. The rise of a digitally connected India. One of the most visible differences between 1947 and 2026 is the extraordinary expansion of communications and connectivity. A large part of India is now connected through mobile phones, broadband, digital platforms, and online services. Banking, payments, education, government services, commerce, and communications have increasingly moved into the digital environment. Digital payments have become part of everyday economic activity, while technology has created new opportunities for entrepreneurs, students, professionals, and small businesses. At the same time, this digital transformation brings new responsibilities, including protection against cybercrime, online fraud, misinformation, identity theft, and misuse of personal information. India's economic transformations. India's economy has also undergone a remarkable transformation. At independence, the country had a predominantly agrarian economy with limited industrializations and a very low average standard of living. Over the decades, India developed manufacturing, services, information technology, telecommunications, financial services, pharmaceuticals, automobiles, infrastructure, and large consumer market. The liberalization process beginning in 1991 further changed the economic landscape and accelerated integrations with the global economy. Today, India is recognized as an important global economic and technological power. Although challenges involving employment, inequality, inflation, regional disparities, and inclusive growth remain significant. When youth and social change, the story of independent India cannot be complete without recognizing the changing role of women and young people. Women have made substantial progress in education, administration, science, business, sports, defense, politics, and professional life. Young Indians are increasingly participating in entrepreneurship, technology innovations, research, and creative industries. Here, the journey toward equal opportunity is not complete. Access to quality in education, employment, safety, healthcare, skills, and economic independence remains an important priority. A truly developed India will have to ensure that development reaches women, youth, farmers, workers, senior citizens, and economically weaker sections across both urban and rural areas. The meaning of freedom in modern India. Freedom in 2026 means more than freedom from foreign rule. It also means creating a society in which citizens can live with dignity, security, and opportunity. It means freedom from poverty, illiteracy, discriminations, corruptions, exploitations, preventable diseases, and digital vulnerability. It means having access to quality education, healthcare, employment, and justice. At the same time, freedom must be accompanied by responsibility. Citizens have a duty to respect the rights of others, protect public property, maintain social harmony, follow the law, protect the environment, and contribute positively to society. A strong nation is created not only by governments but also by responsible citizens. The vision of a developed India by 2047. As India approaches the centenary of independence in 2047, the idea of a developed India has become an important national aspiration. The years between 2026 and 2047 will be particularly significant because today's young generations will become the principal workforce, entrepreneurs, professionals, scientists, administrators, and leaders of that future India. The objective should not simply be a larger economy, but a country with world-class infrastructure, quality education, accessible healthcare, technological capability, strong institutions, environmental sustainability, social harmony, and opportunities for every citizen. Earlier Independence Day addresses have also repeatedly highlighted the long-term objective of building a developed India by 2047. The responsibilities of the present generations. The 80th Independence Day should therefore become an occasion for reflection as much as celebrations. The freedom fighters inherited a difficult India and gave the next generations a free country. Each generation thereafter has inherited the achievements and the challenges of the previous generations. The responsibility of today's citizens is to preserve what has been built while correcting what remains unfinished. We should ask whether we are maintaining public cleanliness, protecting nature, respecting women and senior citizens, helping the disadvantaged, rejecting corruption, avoiding hatred and misinformation, and using technology responsibly. Patriotism is not limited to displaying the national flag, it is reflected in our conduct every day. Independence Day celebrations across India. On 15th August, the national flag will be unfurled at the government offices, schools, colleges, public institutions, and residential communities across the country. Cultural programs, patriotic songs, speeches, parades, competitions, and community activities will bring people together. The tricolor will also be visible in homes, workplaces, and public spaces. Initiatives encouraging citizens to display the national flag have added a participatory dimensions to Independence Day celebrations in recent years. The celebrations have therefore moved beyond the formal government ceremony and increasingly become a collective expression of national pride. The moment to remember the unsung heroes. While history remembers several prominent leaders and freedom fighters, thousands of ordinary people whose names may never have appeared in textbooks also contributed to India's independence. Many suffered imprisonment, financial hardship, social prosecutions, or personal loss. Numerous families lost loved ones during the freedom movement and partitions. Remembering Independence Day should therefore mean remembering not only famous personalities but also the countless unnamed citizens who participated in the struggle. Their sacrifice reminds us that major social changes are often created by the courage and determination of ordinary people. The journey from 1947 to 2026. The distance traveled by India since 1947 is extraordinary. The country moved from colonial rule to constitutional democracy, from food shortages to greater food security, from limited industrial capacity to diversified economy, from scarce communications facilities to digital connectivity, and from a developing scientific base to globally recognized capabilities in several fields. At the same time, India continues to face challenges such as unemployment, poverty in certain sections, environmental degradation, urban congestion, social inequality, cybercrime, and the need for better public services. The real meaning of development is therefore not simply the achievement of impressive statistics, but improvement in the quality of life of every citizen. What the 80th Independence Day should inspire. The 80th Independence Day should inspire three emotions: gratitude for the past, responsibility in the present, and confidence in the future. We should be grateful to those who sacrificed for freedom, responsible enough to protect the democratic and unconstitutional values inherited from them, and confident enough to believe that India can overcome the challenges before it. The country of 1947 could not have imagined the technological and economic possibilities of 2026. Similarly, the India of 2026 cannot fully predict what the India of 2047 will look like, but the directions of that journey will depend on the decisions, values, and efforts of today's citizens. Conclusions. 15th August 2026 is therefore much more than the 80th Independence Day of India. It is a bridge between India's remarkable past and its ambitious future. From the sacrifices of the freedom struggle to the democratic institutions of the republic, from the early challenges of nation building to advance in science, technology, agriculture, industry, and digital connectivity. India's journey has been one of continuous transformation. Yet independence is not something that can simply be celebrated once a year. It must be protected and strengthened every day. As the tricolor rises on 15th August 2026, every Indian can remember the sacrifices that made freedom possible and make a personal commitment to build a peaceful, prosperous, responsible, inclusive, and developed India. The true tribute to the freedom fighters will be to ensure that the freedom they own continues to create dignity, opportunity, unity, and hope for generations yet to come. Jai Hind. Disclaimer: This article is intended solely for general information, education, and awareness. Historical events have been summarized in a simplified manner for general readers and should not be treated as a comprehensive academic history of India's freedom struggle. References to present day developments and future goals are based on information available at the time of preparation and may change with subsequent official announcements. Readers are advised to consult official government sources and authoritative historical references for detailed or official information. The views expressed in this article are intended to promote awareness, patriotism, constitutional values, and responsible citizenship and should not be interpreted as political endorsements or criticism of any individual, organizations, or government. Thank you very much for your patience. Request for like, subscribe, and share.